What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Diana and I am the founder of Money Boss Mama, and in this video I am going to be sharing with you how you can manage your money the lazy way. And I'm almost ashamed to say, no, I'm not ashamed to say it. I like managing my money in the least manual way possible. So I am going to be teaching you the 3 things that I do to be able to do this. And I know that some of you may be thinking, like, why the hell would I want to manage my money the lazy way? And it's because, number one, I find that when I speak to people, their problem is often consistency. It's often the discipline of going in and doing whatever routine that they have over and over again, to where it becomes like a second nature habit. It's very difficult, especially when it comes to your finances, to do that. So I had to come up with ways that would allow me to still manage my money in a good way, but it didn't require so much time, because as a parent, especially a working parent, which I feel like all parents are working parents, nobody has time to sit down with a pen, a paper, or a spreadsheet every freaking day and dedicate 20-30 minutes to moving things around and figuring out what goes where. So if I am speaking your language, then keep watching. All right, number one, I always automate my savings contributions. And I did this in the beginning of my financial journey, and I've just kind of stuck with it because I was that person. I would go and I would put money in my savings account, and then I would be right back whipping it around to the tail line again the next day, and I would be withdrawing the funds. Or I would always trick myself into not making the deposit altogether. So I would say, I will do it next time, or I would convince myself that I needed something else. And so I figured that the contribution needed to be made no matter what emotion I was feeling, and setting up an automatic contribution allowed me to do this. And so in the beginning, it's going to be a lot more difficult, especially if you are not used to saving, because that money is gone. You have to kind of give yourself time to adjust. So I always recommend starting with a very small contribution, just to give yourself time. And as I'm talking through these tips, I will link extra videos that I have that will kind of help you through it. But I decided to start low and then gradually increase my automatic contributions, because once that money is gone, as soon as you get paid, or however you have it set up with your transfer, that money, it is going to be automatically withdrawn from your paycheck, or however you have your contribution set up, and it's going to be deposited into the savings account of your choice. So no matter if you are feeling like you need a new pair of shoes, no matter if you are trying to convince yourself why you shouldn't make the contribution this paycheck, it's going to happen despite your emotions. You have to learn yourself. You have to learn your behavior and your habits and your thought patterns, and you have to set up strategies, methods, and barriers that align with your behavior so that you can get to the goal that you want to hit. And really quickly, another benefit of the savings contribution is the fact that oftentimes you're going to get to a place where it doesn't even feel like you're saving, because you're forgetting that this money is being put into this savings account. And that's kind of what you want, because you don't want to remember that you have this money unless you really need it. That way you're leaving that money there to grow. And so when you go back in and check your savings account, when you actually remember that, hey, I'm not manually putting this money over, but it's still going over to the savings account, I often found that I would check my account and I would have a lot more money than I initially thought that I did. And that's because everything was being moved without me, having to do it, and I wasn't convincing myself to withdraw the funds out because I kind of forgot about them. Second way I manage my money in the laziest way possible is budgeting with multiple bank accounts. Now, I did do a video about a year or so ago breaking this all down, but basically I budget with about 6 bank accounts. And initially, I know when people hear this, they're like, I don't have time for that. That's going to be too much work. I had to remember all of these accounts. But if you have your paycheck set up through direct deposit and it's being deposited into all of these accounts based on the amounts that you have budgeted per paycheck, I promise you, it actually makes budgeting a whole lot easier. So for an example, I have an account that holds my gas and grocery funds, and I have an account that holds my personal funds and toiletries. And so depending on how much I budget for gas and groceries each paycheck, that specific amount is deposited automatically to that specific account. And then my personal funds and the toiletry amount every paycheck, that specific amount is budgeted to that specific account. And then I have a bills account, which we will get into in just a moment. But as you can kind of get a feel, it's basically you having your budget, you have the amount that you should be withdrawing for each expense every single paycheck, and that amount is automatically deposited into that bank account that is specifically for that expense or those expenses. And I say that this is kind of like a lazy way to manage your money, because let's say you have a per paycheck budget and you're only using one account. That means that that whole amount from your paycheck is being deposited into this one account, which means that you have to manually go in and take out what you need for each budgeted expense. And I don't have time for that. I want to do the least amount possible. So I have basically this automatically set up. This is done for me through direct deposit from my paycheck to these specific accounts. All right, and the third way I manage my money in the laziest way possible is through my bills account. Once again, yes, I have a video all about my bills account, but basically this is an account specifically for my bills. So just as it sounds, I made a list of all of my expenses, and this includes my essentials like rent, utilities, gas, water, cell phone bill, all of that good stuff. All right, guys, so really quickly, this is what I go over in the recommended video, but this is an example of a previous client's bill or expense schedule. So you'll see here that we have listed out on the side the specific bill or expense, the anticipated amount due every single month, as well as the day due of each month that these expenses typically fall on. And based on each one of these expenses, the amount that's due each month, like with the cell phone bill, we know it's going to be the same amount each month. But with the water bill and your electric bill, it does fluctuate based on usage. So I use the average of like the last 6 statements and then added in a buffer. So like an additional $20, $30. So based on the amount of all of my expenses that would be kept in this bills account, I divided it by 2 because I get paid bi-weekly, so I mainly get 2 paychecks a month, and then I had that amount that I need automatically deposited into this specific account. So let's say that I have, my expenses totaled $2,000 every single month, divided by 2, that's $1,000. So $1,000 would be automatically deposited from my paycheck to this bills account. But that is not where I leave off. This is the lazy way, because most or all of my bills are actually set up on auto pay, so they are automatically deducted from this account. My account stays at about $2,000. It's been at $3,000 for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I probably have just a big buffer now, but it stays at about $2,000 every single month, even though these bills are being automatically taken out of this account. Now, this does come with some warnings, because if you want to start doing this, you need to make sure that based on your upcoming expenses, when they're being automatically deducted from the account, it's not going to put your account under. So I did do a video that I recommend that you watch before you do this. It's called How to Create a Bill Calendar, so that you can learn how to mark what would be a safe place to start paying out your bills from this specific bills account. So this account basically, it literally runs on its own. I don't do anything manually with this account. My paycheck amounts are automatically deposited, and then my bills are automatically paid. So I do not have to remember when my specific bills are due, unless maybe the balance is looking a little too low. Then I would go in and kind of just figure out what what went where. But if you use buffers for your expenses that fluctuate, as in you're adding in more money just in case the bill comes higher than what you've budgeted for, the really cool thing is that the buffer starts to build up on itself. I normally start catching it when it gets to about $800 to $1,000. So if my electric bill, I budget about let's say $130, but it was only $80 that month, obviously I'm gonna have a buffer that's just sitting in that account. But anytime I have a higher than normal bill because of this, I don't stress. I kind of just basically don't do anything at all because I know that I have a good enough buffer in that account to cover that, and I didn't even have to add extra money to my bills account. It just kind of adds extra money to itself on its own based on the bills that come in under my budgeted amount. I don't take that money out. I leave it sitting there and just kind of let it do its thing. All right, so that wraps up this video. Obviously, you know, you can still be kind of like a lazy girl and get yourself together financially. This does not mean that you are lazy. I'm just saying it's more of a less hands-on route to take if you are managing your money. This has truly helped me to stay consistent because it took the least amount of time and willpower from me, and I was just able to stay consistent with the methods that I use. So if this was helpful, leave me down below and I will catch you guys in the next video.